Thank you, Mr. President. Before talking about some good news, I think, for so many of us across the country, I want to just thank Senator Murray for all of her leadership and the devastation she's describing in Washington State. I know our presiding officer and what is happening in Maui, and the people of Hawaii are so fortunate to have you and Senator Hirono that are out every day describing what needs to happen and pushing hard to make it happen. We have a lot of issues that are really important, a lot of devastation, a lot of extreme weather events, and we certainly understand that the climate crisis is adding to all of what we are seeing right now in the devastation, and it's critical. It's critical that we keep focused on that. I want to take a moment, Mr. President, today to talk about what is going right. You know, we have a lot of challenges to work on. At the same time, I'm really excited about the fact that we are seeing evidence of the right policies, the right funding that are actually creating jobs in my home state of Michigan and across the country. All across our country, manufacturing facilities are opening, and we're seeing a lot of those in Michigan. I've always said we don't have an economy unless somebody makes something and somebody grows something. That's what we do in Michigan. That's what we traditionally have done in America, but we have lost over decades so many of those jobs going overseas for a number of reasons. Now we're bringing them back, and that's exciting to see. Last month, 187,000 jobs were created just in August. 13.5 million jobs since President Biden has taken office. This is good news. Over 800,000 of those are in manufacturing. In fact, we are witnessing a rebirth of American manufacturing. And this is part of how we're going to also tackle the climate crisis with the clean energy efforts and the new opportunities for us in good-paying jobs that also address clean energy. Unemployment has been under 4% for 19 months in a row. I'm not sure when else I could have stood on the floor to say 19 months in a row, unemployment under 4%. Longest stretch in over 50 years. We're seeing the lowest unemployment rate for American women in 70 years. And as a caveat, Mr. President, I would say that if we address child care costs, unemployment would be even lower for women who want and need to work in the workplace. And the highest share of Americans aged 25 to 54 are now in the workforce. It's the highest share since May of 2002, quite a while ago. And so wages are up and costs for the things people need continue to go down. We've got more work to do. I'm not saying we're done by any stretch of the imagination, but things are moving in the right direction, and certainly in lowering costs. I am so proud of what we have done regarding prescription drugs. $35 cap on insulin for seniors and others on Medicare, $35 a month, not $600, not $800, not $1,000 like many people have experienced, $35. And we are seeing a cap on overall out-of-pocket costs for seniors in another year. Next January, it goes down to a $3,200 cap altogether, and then after that, $2,000 for everything, not the $14,000 that is the average right now in America, but a $2,000 cap for a year of prescriptions. Huge difference, huge, huge difference. And I have to say, I'm proud of the fact that we have taken on one of the most powerful special interests in our country, big pharma, pharmaceutical companies, and made sure that we are lowering prices for people in our country. More to do. It is disappointing, Mr. President, for me to say that not one of our Republican colleagues joined us in that effort, not one. But we're continuing to push forward and lower costs. I would also say none of this is by accident. It's a very different way of viewing the economy and what's good for Americans. Democrats are growing our economy from the middle out, the bottom up, not top down. It's the opposite of trickle-down economics that for decades we've been hearing. If we only give it to the top, wait, it'll trickle down. And people in Michigan are still waiting, Mr. President, for that to trickle down. We're doing something different. We are aiming at the middle class of our country, making smart investments in America, bringing jobs home from overseas. We're empowering workers with higher wages and better training, more support for unions that can do collective bargaining, that can make workplaces safer and raise wages as well. And it's so interesting to see that job satisfaction surveys are saying they're at the highest ever recorded. Right now, we're enjoying one of the strongest job-creating periods in the history of our country, not by accident. It's a different view. You know, our friends on the other side of the aisle, basically, if the economy is up, we need a tax cut. If the economy is down, we need a tax cut. No, whichever problem there is, a tax cut for the wealthy will solve it, Mr. President. It's not worked. And what we are saying is, no, why don't we actually directly address the cost that families are feeling? Take on the special interests and bring those costs down. And invest in the opportunity to rebuild America, create a manufacturing renaissance, bring jobs home. That's what's happening right now. It's a lot of hard work, and certainly we are not done. But I'm excited that we are moving in the direction that we are, with 13.5 million new jobs coming out of a worldwide pandemic. 13.5 million new jobs since President Biden took office. But, Mr. President, that's why it is so incredibly important that we work together, Democrats and Republicans, to keep our government running, to keep our government open. As a reminder, government funding runs out on September 30th. That's not very far away. I'm so proud of the bipartisan work in the Senate, the effort to put out all 12 appropriations bills out of committee, most of them unanimous, very few with a single no vote. I have to give a particular shout out to Senator Murray and Senator Collins. You know, again, not by accident, I would say, Mr. President, this is the first time we've had 2 women leading that effort, just saying, and it's on time and on budget. So I'm very proud of their leadership and their work. But what is so worrisome is what the House Republicans are doing. Well, actually, they're not doing anything this week because they're still in recess. But when they get back, keeping the government open is not on their to-do list. And that's really terrible news for American families. Now, in fairness, I'm not sure Speaker McCarthy wants the government to shut down. In fact, he and President Biden shook hands and made a commitment to move our country forward with agreed-upon spending levels, which we in the Senate, on a bipartisan basis, are abiding by. But while Speaker McCarthy is Speaker, it's the fringe of his caucus that seems to be doing all the talking. They're making all sorts of ridiculous and radical demands that will go nowhere in the Senate, certainly are not things that the American people want to have happen. And meanwhile, we know that what will happen if these extremists win and the government shuts down will take us in the exact opposite direction of the good news that I've been talking about today. Seniors will worry about receiving the services they depend on. Members of our military who put their lives on the line to defend our country will go without pay. Millions of hardworking public employees will worry about being able to pay their bills, provide for their families. Small businesses may struggle to get loans or help with red tape and other issues. Food safety and rail safety inspections will happen less frequently, making us all less safe. Air travel may go from a hassle to a nightmare. And Michigan families who are getting away for one last weekend while the weather's still nice will find that the national park they plan to attend is closed down. Beyond the individual pain, and I could go on and on and on about what this means for individuals, for Americans, but beyond the pain that would cause, the cost of government shutting down is enormous. The Congressional Budget Office estimated that the last time the government shut down, it cost our economy $11 billion. Now, Mr. President, I have to tell you, I'm in the middle as the chair of the Agriculture, Nutrition, and Forestry Committee and negotiating a farm bill. And I think my ranking member, Senator Rosen, would join me in saying that $11 billion that we could lose in the economy, we sure could use to invest for our farmers and rural America to be able to get this done. A Republican government shutdown will completely undermine our government's and our country's progress. We are moving. We're out of the pandemic. We're moving forward. We're creating jobs. We're creating new opportunities. We're moving in the right direction. And this will completely undermine it. You have to wonder if that's exactly what those folks are aiming to do, actually. It's time to come together on a bipartisan basis like we are doing in the Senate. Keep our government open and build on the progress we've already made. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor.